when, you know, when you are used to using a hammer, you know, when you see every nail, there is a tendency to want to react in the same manner. And I say that when I listened to Kamau this morning, yes, and saying that Rigiji is not the kingpin of Mount Kenya, there is a proclivity of drowning men clutching at straws. Yes, sir. And sometimes we admire chasing smokes and screens. First things first. How easy is it to become a deputy president? Because you know, most people underestimate the man. Now you remember that during the previous constitution, the president could fire the vice president at will, and the president could decide in essence who becomes his vice president. Yes. But we are in a new constitutional dispensation where the deputy president is as valuable as the president in terms of bringing votes to the basket. And you remember, the deputy president has not just arrived at the scene as a novice. You recall that before he became deputy president, or rather when William was seeking for a running mate, there was a choice between very many candidates. One of them was Professor Kindiki, the other one was Madam Anne Waiguru. There were a number of candidates that were being, you know, including even Musalia Mudavadi was a potential candidate for becoming a deputy president. But this is a man who beat everyone else towards in fact, for those of many Kenyans who are following that time, it was very clear that Rigathi Gachagua was not going to make the cut. In fact, if you recall well, it was a foregone conclusion. The media had even been called to announce that time another candidate as the potential running mate. Yes, so the question is, what is this metal that makes Rigathi Gachagua that made him trounce all his opponents to come from being a personal assistant of a former president to becoming the deputy president of Kenya? What is this that all the others could not master that made the man become the deputy president? And therefore what I am saying is we must give it to the man. But I love what you are discussing behind the scenes and saying lightning does not strike the same place twice. And therefore, what got the DP to where he is now, to sustain the very same thing towards the end and seek re-election as the deputy president, there must be a change of tact. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yes. And that is granted in politics. Now, I was just saying that ukiona vinaelea unajua vimeundwa. So here is the deputy president goes to a local media station and says, you know, Uhuru is our son. Let us embrace Uhuru. Here is Maina Jenga who comes and says, you know what? It is not Kenya Kwanza that invaded Uhuru's farm. I want you to see the script. It is not Kenya Kwanza, no. It is me who sent my guys. And I am asking my guys who went to Uhuru's farm to start returning the goats and sheep. That is Maina Jenga. And we all know Maina Jenga is in Azimio. Fast forward, here is President Ruto saying, you know, for the first time in public, I want to thank His Excellency the President for his foresight in building this shipyard and bringing glory to the country. Now, this is politics. And Daktari had said, if you see a frog jumping in broad daylight, something really must be after its own life. Now, we are in broad daylight, and we have the big men, and we are also having others who are supporters absolving themselves from mistakes that might have happened. What does that tell you? That tells you there is a script that is being rolled out pole pole, and that script, in my opinion, is meant to consolidate the Mount Kenya backyard. And as we said when we were starting, politics is about interest. And I dare say here that when the interests are very compelling, regardless of how we feel or regardless of how we think, it is possible for Uhuru Kenyatta to come into the fold. And I'll give you a last example. When we came out of 2007 post-election violence, something united Uhuru and Ruto,
yes,
which was ICC. Prior to that, no one ever thought, no one ever even imagined or envisaged a scenario where Uhuru and Ruto would be in the same camp. But how did they prepare us? They prepared us by first saying that our son, you see the word our son comes, our sons are going to be tried in a foreign country as if we do not have courts in this country. Okay, do you remember? Don't be vague. Let's go to the Hague. So they started preparing us by our sons. What was the second level of preparation? Prayers. Okay, they started praying in public rallies, praying to God. That time there was no political formation, it was just prayers. Finally, it was a marriage of convenience based on interest. So even this one, the naysayers who are saying that, oh, Uhuru Kenyatta cannot come into the fold, when the interests are compelling, there is a big likelihood that Uhuru will come back into the fold. Now, you might be as skeptical as you possibly can, but that, in my opinion, is going to happen.
Yes.
It's a possibility. It is going to, because I have just explained to you 3 scenarios in a span of around 2 weeks,
yes,
that are culminating in the same. So that tells you behind the scenes, there are conversations that are ongoing.
I like the